the way I basically look at fighting is twofold. So I'm not going to talk about Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, I'm not going to talk about gi, I'm not going to talk about no gi, and you're never going to see me get in an argument about gi or no gi or anything like that, because once you understand our epistemology, those kind of arguments are moot, right? They don't make any sense, because what we're talking about when we talk about fighting is fundamentals, okay? Fundamentals, people often ask me, what's a fundamental? Like, is this a fundamental? A lot of people struggle with this. Is this move a fundamental? Is this choke a fundamental? Instead of thinking about techniques, individual techniques, what you want to think about is families of movements. So a fundamental is something that's going to transcend era, the time, the geography, the country. You know, there's no such thing as Canadian geometry, just like there really should be no such thing as a Japanese choke. There is going to be the most efficient way to cut off the blood supply to somebody's head. That's what we're searching for, and that efficient way is going to transcend culture, body, uniform, and that's going to be a fundamental. Okay, so and a better way, I think, to think about fundamentals is to think about structure. And the way I think about structure, if we use Brazilian Jiu Jitsu for a moment, and this is going to be exactly the same thing as the clinch, which I'm about to launch into, is a tree, which is the best metaphor I've come up with so far. So the trunk of the tree is the posture. That is literally your body in relationship to your opponent's body, how it's structured, the shape you put yourself in, okay? Base is your connection, your body's connection to the ground. That's the roots of the tree. Posture is the trunk. And then branching from that base and posture, you have the various branches. Never more than about 5 usually, and never less than 2. And those branches are going to be various pressures, applying force in a particular direction or angle from that base and posture. And those 3 things, base, posture, pressure, then open up a world of possibilities. And then this tree sprouts into an almost infinite, ever-growing, counter for counter, branch for branch game of techniques. Sweeps, counters to sweeps, chokes, you name it. What most Jiu-Jitsu instructors focus on, and this is not an insult, this is just to articulate the difference of the way I like to teach and what we try and do here at SBG, what most of them focus on is the possibilities. So they will teach you a branch here or a branch there, and then if you do this branch, you counter it with this branch, and then it just kind of forks off. And what often gets left behind, skipped, or barely mentioned is the structure that makes all that stuff work. So no 2 black belts are going to have the same game. You're never going to find 2 world champions at the Mundials who have the same game. But both of them have, if they're legit and they make it to that level, underlying their game is this structure, which is the same. The mechanical structure that allows them to apply the movements. And what I like to focus on is the structure, and what I like to not teach, even at all if possible, are the possibilities. Now, all Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu focuses on base, posture, pressure. Hickson's line of Jiu-Jitsu has an extra step in between, and it can also be confusing to understand sometimes because he'll use the word connection in different contexts and different places at different times, so people struggle with what it means. But I think you will understand what it means better if you understand it as a sequence. Connection is what happens after you have base and posture, but before you apply pressure. That's usually where it occurs, okay? So the formula is base and posture, connection, pressure, and then possibilities. So the first thing you're going to do on the ground or in the clinch or wherever you are in a fight is you're going to orientate yourself to your opponent. And you're going to put yourself in the best base and posture, the best structure as possible, shape your body in the best structure as possible so you have leverage against the other person. That's step 1. And if we want to go really, break it down really simpler, the first step is always base. So I might be getting base and posture and doing a grip break, but before I do anything else, as soon as I'm grabbed, I want to structure, I want to root myself to the ground for a minute and affect my base, and then I start to adjust my posture. So base and posture are 2 words for the same thing. You can't have good posture without having good base, by definition. But in many cases, you will always start. I've never seen a case where you start with posture first and then go to base. Usually, you're always going to get base first and then adjust your posture. And it happens almost simultaneously. But that is the beginning, okay? Then if you're doing jiu-jitsu the way we try and teach it, the way Hickson tries to teach it, is the next step would be finding connection, breaking connection, making connection. And what connection does is it allows you to be most efficient.